June 13, 1944. Normandy, France. Dawn crawls across the hedgerows near the village of Villers-Bocage, turning what leaves silver and steel helmets dull gray. Oberleutnant Franz Keller, commander of a Panzer IV in the 2nd Panzer Division, peers through his binoculars as mist lifts from a narrow sunken lane. The earth smells of churned soil, cordite, and crushed grass. Somewhere ahead, engines growl, low, steady, too many to count. Keller tightens his jaw. He has been fighting since Poland, through France, Russia, and back again. He knows the sound of Soviet tanks, rough, urgent, chaotic. This is different. This is orderly. Measured. American Shermans, his gunner mutters. Another column. They had already burned 8 yesterday. The Americans were supposed to stop after that. Every briefing said so. Intelligence reports described the M4 Sherman as thin-skinned, undergunned, vulnerable to German 75mm and 88mm fire. The plan was simple: bleed them. Attrition would do what maneuver could not. Break the Americans by grinding down their tanks faster than they could replace them. Keller lowers his binoculars. The hedgerow ahead shudders as the first Sherman noses into view, olive-drab hull streaked with dust, a white star half hidden by mud. Another follows. Then another. And another. Range? Keller asks. 600 meters. Fire. The Panzer's gun recoils with a crack that echoes down the lane. The first Sherman erupts, turret hatch flipping open as black smoke pours out. Flames lick skyward. Cheers burst inside the Panzer's fighting compartment. The second Sherman slews sideways, tracks snapping under a follow-up hit. American infantry scatter, diving into ditches. For 15 minutes, it works exactly as expected. Shermans burn. Crews bail out or don't. The road becomes a wrecked procession of twisted steel. Keller feels the familiar grim satisfaction of a hunter who knows his prey. Then something goes wrong. The firing doesn't stop, but the Shermans don't stop either. Through the smoke, more tanks appear. Not replacements from reserve lines miles away, but fresh vehicles pushing forward immediately. Drivers steer around burning hulks with practiced ease. Recovery vehicles, bulky, purposeful, creep forward under fire, already hooking cables to disabled tanks. Keller blinks. That's not possible. German doctrine says a unit hit this hard should pause. Regroup. Withdraw. The Americans do not. A Sherman rolls forward with its paint still clean, as if it has driven straight out of a factory yard. Another follows, radio antenna whipping back and forth. They fire on the move, inaccurate but relentless, shells bursting against hedgerows and farm walls. Loader. Keller shouts. Faster. The Panzer fires again, and again. Hits. Kills. But the road never empties. By midday, Keller's ammunition is low, his crew exhausted. The field in front of them is a scrapyard of American tanks, and yet the pressure only increases. Somewhere behind the front, unseen hands are feeding the fight with metal and fuel and men. For the first time since the campaign began, a thought creeps into Keller's mind, cold and unwelcome. What if they can afford this? What if this is the plan? Keller never sees the machine that feeds the Shermans. He only feels its weight. 30 kilometers to the west, near the artificial harbor at Omaha Beach, the day is already in full motion. Liberty ships sit low in the water, ramps open, disgorging cargo in a constant stream. Cranes swing with mechanical indifference, lifting crates marked spare parts, tank, medium. Rows of Sherman hulls wait on the sand, engines already installed, turrets lashed down for transport. Captain Robert H. Miller, U.S. Army Ordnance Corps, checks his clipboard and waves another tank forward. The process is relentless. A Sherman arrives damaged, track blown, transmission cracked, turret ring jammed. It is assessed, tagged, and either repaired on the spot or cannibalized within hours. There is no ceremony. No debate. A burned-out Sherman is not a tragedy here. It is a resource. Mechanics swarm over vehicles like ants, sleeves rolled up, faces black with grease. Engines are swapped in under 4 hours. Tracks are replaced faster than German crews can cool their gun barrels. Entire turrets are lifted off and replaced with pre-assembled units shipped from England days earlier. Miller has numbers burned into his mind. In May alone, American factories produced more than 2,000 Shermans. Detroit Arsenal tank plant runs day and night, floodlights blazing, assembly lines never stopping. If a tank is lost in Normandy, its replacement may already be crossing the Atlantic. Fuel trucks idle in long lines, their drivers sleeping in the cabs, engines humming. Ammunition arrives by the ton. Food. Radios. Boots. Everything arrives. This is not improvisation. This is choreography. Back at the front, Keller's Panzer Division feels the pressure mounting hour by hour. Reports come in over the radio, enemy armor advancing again. Enemy losses heavy, but replacements immediate. Anti-tank guns overwhelmed. A senior officer slams his fist on a map table. They should be exhausted. But the Americans are not fighting like an army worried about losses. They advance like an industry moving forward, step by step, indifferent to cost. On June 18, after another brutal engagement, Keller walks past a field of destroyed Shermans. Rain hisses as it hits hot metal. The air smells of oil and death. He counts them out of habit. 23. The next morning, American tanks are back in force, pushing the same sector. That is when Keller understands. Germany has built excellent tanks, complex, powerful, precise. Each one a masterpiece. Each one irreplaceable. The Americans have built something else entirely. A weapon system designed not to survive, but to be replaced. Attrition, the strategy Germany relied upon, is working, just not in their favor. By late July, the hedgerows are breaking open. Operation Cobra begins with a thunderclap, thousands of American bombers flattening German positions west of St. Lo. When the dust settles, Shermans surge forward again, pouring through gaps that did not exist hours earlier. Keller's Panzer IV is gone now, knocked out by fighter bombers days earlier. He commands a borrowed vehicle, its engine temperamental, its optics cracked. Fuel is rationed. Ammunition is counted shell by shell. Across the fields, American armor advances in depth, first wave, second wave, reserves already moving. The pattern is unmistakable. German crews still kill Shermans. They still outshoot them tactically. But it no longer matters. Keller watches through his sights as an American tank explodes, then another. And another. Then he sees fresh ones cresting the ridge behind them, engines roaring, dust plumes rising like a curtain. It is not courage that unnerves him. It is math. Every Sherman destroyed is a subtraction the Americans can absorb. Every Panzer lost is a wound Germany cannot heal. Replacement tanks arrive weeks late, if at all. Spare parts are scavenged from wrecks. Crews are replaced with boys and old men. In a brief lull, Keller lights a cigarette with shaking hands. He realizes he is no longer thinking about winning this battle, or even surviving it. He is thinking about what happens next. Across Normandy, German commanders reached the same conclusion independently, almost simultaneously. Reports climb the chain of command, increasingly desperate in tone. The Americans are not slowing down. Losses do not deter them. Supply lines stretch back across an ocean and do not break. The battlefield has become a demonstration. When the breakout finally comes, it feels inevitable. American armor floods into open country, maneuvering freely for the first time. German defenses collapse not because they are cowardly or incompetent, but because they are outproduced. Keller abandons his tank near a burning crossroads, the road clogged with wrecks and refugees. In the distance, he hears engines. Always engines. Later, in captivity, he will be asked what it felt like to fight the Americans in Normandy. He will not talk about bravery or fear. He will talk about the tanks. How many we destroyed, he will say quietly. And how many kept coming.